Hello YouTube, it's Ryan here with Hobbies of Man once again, and today we are doing another manga review, or really a manga first impressions review, and today we're going to be looking at Record of Ragnarok. Now, technically speaking, this would not really be a first impressions because it's not the first time that I've been exposed to this series. Technically, I have watched the anime and have done a review for it already, so if you guys are interested in that, do check it out. It's up there, I think. Let's see. Yeah, it should be up there. And yeah, so you guys can check that out if you want. But this is the first impression of the manga. And it does differ a little bit from the anime, so feel free to stay if you're interested in that. So yeah, Record of Ragnarok Volume 1. This is written by 3 different people. Shinya Umemura is in charge of the storyline, as it says here. The script is done by Takumi Fukui. And I don't know the difference between story and script in this case, because it just feels the same. So I'm guessing what happens is that one guy is like, hey, this is the things that are going to happen. And then the other guy is like, okay, here is what they're going to say in order for these things to happen. Which is an interesting way of handling the creation of a story. But I guess it is, you know, how it worked in this case. The art is actually drawn by Asichika, which is a, artist. So that's pretty interesting. I don't know any other works by any of these authors. I do think that they have some. I just don't know any. So there you go. And the publisher here is Viz, as you guys can see right there. This is a Viz signature. It's part of the signature line, which is pretty cool. That's why it's oversized. The demographic here is seinen, and the genres here are action and fantasy. And I guess some people would call this a supernatural fighting manga, like a supernatural martial arts manga. And I guess it kind of is that. But I think just action and fantasy is good enough to encompass all of that. And this does have an adaptation. Of course, it's a original digital what's it called? Original web animation, and it's on Netflix. It's not horrible. I think that a lot of people blew out a specific 3-second clip of like one of the episodes into this issue that the whole series had, but it really didn't. The whole series actually wasn't horrible. It was definitely CGI. And it sometimes felt slow, but generally I thought the story was pretty good, and the way that the animation was handled was not horrible, except for that one little 3-second clip where it basically feels like a slideshow. So there is an issue, but I think that the issue is blown out of proportions by the anime and manga community on Twitter and on other social media platforms. So don't really believe that much of all of that issue. It's not really that horrible. So yeah, now, before I get into the premise, I do want to talk about the physical edition because I think it's a little bit disappointing. When I buy a Viz signature, I want it to feel, like I'm buying a signature volume. This doesn't really feel that way. The weight of the volume is pretty light. It doesn't really feel all that special. The pages are fine, and actually I do like that it is pretty bendy, but you can still have, heavy grammage paper that is of this kind of feeling. And I really wish that it was a matte finish. I think that would have been better. If it was a matte finish and then the characters were in this like satin finish, that would have been really nice. I think that they just kind of took the easy approach with this. I think that they should have really done a little bit more to make it special. And I also really dislike that there's no color pages. In the Spanish edition and the Argentinian edition, this page is in color. And it really doesn't have to be that special because this is a single page. It's pretty easy to kind of be able to do that. And of course, you would also have this page in color. And I think that would have been good enough to make it feel a little bit more special. And I'm kind of sad that it didn't really feel like that. The other thing that I want to note is that there's a bunch of black pages at the back. I don't know what these are for. Of course, they're supposed to be kind of like the opposites to the front pages. So it's like a properly, set up volume. However, I feel like they should have had like ads or something at least, and they didn't, so I don't really understand what the purpose of them is. However, it is what it is. It's done. Hopefully, in the future when the series is finished, they make a special edition that is much nicer. I do like it in English, so I don't think I'm going to buy the Argentinian or the Spaniard edition. However, those editions are slightly better, and they do come with a kind of like nice little gift. They come with a little page marker, what are these called? Bookmarks. So if you guys are interested in just having the collection without necessarily being able to read it, if you've already read it through scans, check out those if you want. But let's get into the actual premise and then the talking point here. So the premise is basically that the gods have gathered to talk about the fate of humanity, and they have decided that humanity should die. And Brunhild, a Valkyrie, one of the 13 Valkyries, which are slightly lower than gods, they're basically demigods, but definitely higher than humans, kind of rebels, I guess is the right way to put it, and manages to talk the gods into allowing this situation to occur. This situation being the Ragnarok tournament. Now, Ragnarok in Norse mythology is the end of days, right? It's when Jormungandr, the world snake, rises from the ocean and decides to plunge the world into chaos, and Fenrir breaks his chains, and all of this stuff happens, right? And they swallow the earth, and Thor has to do something in order to save the world. But in this case, Ragnarok is actually a 13v13 one-on-one battle tournament in order to decide the fate of humanity. So the 13 strongest humans versus the 13 strongest gods, right? And that's what kind of happens here. And now we start with the first round of this tournament, which happens to be Lu Bu from China versus Thor, the lightning god, right? So that's basically what this is, and there's definitely a little bit more stuff going on. Like, there's this element of rebellion from the Valkyries, this element of betrayal, because the Valkyries side with humans more than they side with the gods. And of course, there's this element of the gods just thinking that they're better than everyone and everything, because they are gods, right? So it's pretty interesting, and I actually really like how this story unfolds, because it's not like the traditional storytelling way where you have a character go through something and then get into a fight and then retell the aspects of his life that are relevant to the fight, right? In this case, we see the characters at their death or at their current time in the case of gods, and then we get to see the exposition of their story explained while they're fighting. And I actually think it's pretty cool because it lends more weight to the fight as the fight goes on. It allows you to learn about the characters in a way that is pretty satisfying, because it's like, oh, so this is the background, this is why this guy is like this, and then this is what's going to happen next. So I think it's really, really good, really well done. I like how the story unfolds quite a bit, so kudos on that. I think the most interesting aspect here is definitely the artwork. It's very messy, but it is very awesome, very kind of powerful, and maybe even a little bit grotesque, but very, very cool. So I like it a lot. I think it's very, very nicely done. I love how crazy the facial expressions are sometimes, and I really can't wait to read more of it. But yeah, the art style here is a little bit more interesting than the anime lets you to believe. There's a lot more shadow, there's a lot more heavy line work that I think actually makes it a little bit more impactful and much cooler than the anime is, right? So there you go. I definitely recommend this over the anime. But other than that, I don't really have all that much to say about it. I think it's really, really cool. I like it a lot. And there is a negative here that I do want to mention, and it is that, at the end of the book, and I guess this is spoilers, but not really. It's the first volume. They give you this list. This list it lists the 13 gods that are going to fight, and it lists. Sorry, I can't speak today. Lists the 13 humans that are going to be the Einherjar, the 13 god killers, right, as it were. And none of these characters are female. Now, I don't really have a gender politics stance on this. I just think that it's a loss to not have some badass female gods in this, right? Like, we could have had the Morrigan, we could have had this crazy, bird lady, or have her be a crone or whatever, versus Joan of Arc or Anne Bonny or any other interesting, powerful female character that you can think of in history. Or we could have had Athena or Belladonna, and they could have been fighting Boudica, which actually would have been pretty interesting, because Athena or Belladonna, not Belladonna, Bellona would have been Greek Roman goddesses versus Boudica, which was a Irish woman that fought off Romans, if I remember correctly. So I think that it is kind of sad, and I really would have liked it if they had included some female characters, because like some of the male characters are like random. Like Nikola Tesla, what is he gonna do? Is he gonna just zap people? And Nostradamus is a pretty interesting character that they chose, but I don't understand what the point of him being there is. Like, you would want actual warriors, not just intelligent people, because if you just wanted intelligence, you could have picked other characters, right? So I don't know. I think that it's a little bit disappointing that there are no female characters. However, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Technically speaking, there are 13 female characters that are important and that they are going to, have something to do with the story, because, a Valkyrie joins a human warrior against a god. So it technically, there is a female representative in every fight. However, I think it would have just been pretty cool if we got to see Athena versus Joan of Arc, or the Morrigan versus, Ampony, or something interesting like that. So there you go. That's all I have to really say about this. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. And thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys later.